and welcome to everyone who's watching, whether live or on the replay. This is the Business Book Cafe, where you'll learn from fellow authors what's working for them to leverage their book for sales and profit. You're bound to discover new ways you might make more money from your book too. I'm your host, Cindy Carruthers, also known as the Beyond Book Sales Coach. And today I am really pleased to welcome Noelle Starry. I'm going to look at my screen here because there's a really interesting bio and I don't want to stumble over it. She is the Chief Resilience Officer at 20 Lemons, a marketing agency where they create and execute smart marketing campaigns to increase sales for their clients. They also offer a co-working space for remote workers who need to get out of the house for quiet or collaboration or whatever. She is a thought leader, opening the first co-working space in New Jersey over 10 years ago, and is currently bringing the licensing model to small downtown locations throughout the state. She's also a marketing leader with full-service marketing company, 20 Lemons, which I'm sure is a story in itself, but maybe we'll hear about that later. It's focused on making businesses become market leaders. During the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, she authored her first book, Main Street Moxie, which guides the way for businesses to navigate the new business environment. So welcome, Nicole. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Good. And you wrote your book during the quarantine and planned for it to support your business from the beginning, basically. Can you tell us a little bit about your thought process and what you wanted the book to do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So 20 Lemons, as I mentioned, is a marketing company in New Jersey, and I do a lot of my work in New Jersey. And when the pandemic hit, I was in the process of working with restaurant groups in New Jersey, having office space in New Jersey, and all of a sudden the mayor turns around and says, "We're shutting restaurants, get out of your office." And I had this like panic moment of, I'm going to lose my business overnight. And one of the things that I've always prided myself on was having a Jersey-based business with a lot of Jersey-based customers. And in that moment, I decided I needed a way to pivot and think bigger and get in front of a bigger audience. And while my heart has always been in helping Main Street businesses, all my businesses have always resided on Main Street in some of the different towns of New Jersey. I wanted to give insight to them as to how they can grow. But I also thought to myself, I could be doing the same stuff and giving this information to other Main Streets nationally. Mm-hmm. And so my immediate audience shifted for who I wanted to write this book for.
Mm-hmm. From actually truly local to all of the local businesses nationwide.
Yep.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And you wrote it and it's been published now for a little while?
Yep. So the book came out in January.
Like January. And tell us about how you're marketing your book. What are you doing with it right now?
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting. So when I went to launch the book, and I've worked with authors for years on how to market their books. For my particular launch, we actually did it very different. I didn't have an opportunity to have a big in-person event. We are planning one for this summer. But I said, I need to get this in front of a bigger national audience that doesn't know me, not just stay in my local audience. And so I actually I outsourced and worked with a national PR person to help bring it out to the West Coast, Chicago area, just to kind of start testing the waters and getting some introductions and doing some new things. And so part of what PR looks like in 2021, post-COVID world or during the midst of COVID, was our book launch included doing a lot of podcasts, a lot of online conversations. And I think some of the biggest benefits that we got out of it were we got an hour video. And so we can take that video and cut it up and use it on social or use it in email blast. And so we got the first bang out of it. And now we're going to kind of use a multiplier effect by saying, how can we repurpose the video and the content that we've talked about before?
So you are using your book in a number of ways to position yourself as the thought leader, as the person who is thinking about what these Main Street businesses can do to come out of this quarantine and thrive, not just merely survive, which is what they've been doing. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the thinking that went into the positioning and how that's working for you.
Of the content, correct? So the content was really focused around this idea of, I remember the days that I was in college and I would be studying for exams, and I would tell my mom, I haven't eaten in 10 hours and I'm not sleeping, and et cetera, et cetera. And my mom always used to say to me, go back to the basics. Like, before you figure out what you're doing today, mark off, this is when I'm going to bed and this is when I'm eating. And I think that when we the people are in stress or, a fight or flight mode, sometimes you need to actually just take a step back and say, hold on a minute, before I start running around like a chicken without a head, what's the most basic thing that I should be doing? And so the book is really meant to be a book about hope. And I think the book is supposed to kind of bring you back to basics. Like, before we start looking at all brand new ideas, and it doesn't mean that new ideas or innovative ideas are bad, but it also doesn't mean that we need to hop on every next bandwagon that's happening. Sometimes we have tools in our toolkit that we haven't even utilized or we forgot about because we started seeing a lot of new shiny objects. And so it kind of goes back to the idea of, look at your basics, look at your foundations. What else can you capitalize on here? And then how do you move forward?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you've been doing things a little bit differently, but I think one of the things that you mentioned that you are doing is speaking and podcasts. How have you used your book to help you get some more speaking engagements?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I think that when I started a marketing company, and then I started a co-working space, and some stuff shifted in my life. And at some point someone said to me, why would you keep a co-working space? And I said, well, there's a million marketers, but if I'm a marketer with a co-working space, I get access to things that I didn't have before. And then as I started growing and I started saying, I need to get in front of another audience, it's like, hey, it's great to be a marketer. It's great to have a co-working space, but I need a way to leverage my messaging. And so the usage of the book, I think, was helpful to do that. I think that when we were looking at how to market it, or one of the areas that we're still working on, is it's called Main Street Moxie. And I think that really knowing who your audience is, or being able to deliver something to them, physically deliver something to them, is important. I know a lot of other speakers that say, when I'm going to run hey, I'm running a conference, I'm a speaker at X event, and when I come and I speak to 500 people, all 500 people are going to get a copy of my book. That's not happening in COVID today. So you need to get a little creative about who can you get your book in front of. And so for us, because we do work with downtown businesses, there's an opportunity to say, these are local downtowns that I want to be doing work with, and sending them a copy of the book and saying, here's a book that can be utilized for your downtown business and business owners. I'd love to have a conversation with you or talk about how we can bring this to your town. Has been a marketing approach that we're starting to work on.
So you're looking with local development authorities, I guess, or business associations to speak to them and sell them copies of your book.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And the book is the entree in. It's the introduction. It says, Noelle's here. She knows what she's talking about.
Correct.
And you found that to be a very effective way of connecting with them for your particular niche.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's something hopefully that you expected to do. Is there something that's unexpected that's happened while you were marketing or monetizing or whatever your book?
Yeah, I think, we forget that we influence people all the time. And so while I was very intentionally looking to distribute the book on a national level, as we were putting content out, a lot of my local audience had come back, or my local contacts had come back and said, hey, I saw you're doing this. I'd really love to talk to you about it. And so I, in a traditional world, I would have gone after that audience out the gate, right? But the people out in Chicago or Midwest were never going to reach out to me. And instead, I said, you know what? I'm going to go after a totally new audience that I want to get introduced to. And my local colleagues had seen what I was doing, and they were like, hey, that's really fantastic. Can you talk about it here, here, here? And so I felt like I got double exposure.
Yeah.
And I didn't even pitch my local teams, and it's not to say that I wouldn't have thought about them in like a phase 2 process, but it wasn't my goal out the gate. And so I thought that was a really big benefit that I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm. And you publicized that pretty much on public media, social media, what you were doing, and they looked at it and they said, oh, Noelle, that sounds really cool.
Yep.
Thanks for keeping us aware of what you're doing. So it's that little visibility piece that, like you said, you influence people all the time. You don't know who you're getting in front of. And sometimes it comes back and surprises you.
It's so funny. Like one of the girls that I work with in marketing, she always refers to the halo effect, like we don't always even remember where we were, what we were doing, and how it influenced somebody. Mm-hmm. But if they saw it in 2, 3, 4 places, maybe they're taking action. And it's not because of one direct message. It's because they've seen it now several times or in different spots. And so I was very impressed with that. I thought that was a great thing that came out of this.
Yeah, no, that's a very, I think, significant thing. We spend a lot of time on social media. We spend a lot of time doing all kinds of actions. And you just don't know where it's showing up. You just don't know where it's going to land with somebody at the right. We try really hard to always get.
We always try
in front of the right people at the right time when they're ready to buy. But sometimes it's those little guys that just come in totally unexpected that surprise you and to some extent make your day. Now, I know you talked about, we also talked a little bit about breaking up your content on social media. You talked about early on. Is there anything else you want to add around that topic?
Yeah, I think the tools that are out there today, I think if anything very positive came out of COVID, I think it's just accelerated the rate and how we can utilize technology. Mm-hmm. So, it's like we've got podcast, and then we're taking the podcast, we're cutting them into snippets. We're taking those snippets and adding them to social media. We're using them as lead gen, or even as you mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation, hey, after we get this video, we're going to transcribe it and add it to a blog. So we are adding content all over the place. And I think that the tools that are out there today are just easy to use. I think they're cost efficient. And I think that they're really helpful in getting in front of the people that you want to.
I usually ask our guests to give us one actionable item from what they've talked about. And just following up on what you just said, I might say, do you have a favorite tool? If social media would be like breaking up content would be where you would suggest people can start to take action, do you have a favorite tool, or do you have another tip that you would like to give us as an actionable item? So you got a choice there. So.
Favorite tool. The tool is the one that I think is like the hard one. I would really encourage people continue doing video. Do video. And I don't have a recommendation for a tool, but I really want to encourage video. I think people get nervous about getting in front of a camera. I think that you shouldn't be. I think we live in a pretty casual world right now, and what people are really looking for is authenticity. And so it's more about your message than, hey, do I have all the right lighting and the right equipment? And so I think that is really the biggest like message that I can give. Like whenever we look at statistics, video is like tenfold for the amount of visibility that it gets to like images. So, keep doing video. Don't be scared of it and just put it out there.
Okay, good. Now, I know you have a free offer for everyone, and I'm going to go back to my notes and drop the link into the chat here. But you wanted to offer some listeners a copy of your book. Why don't you talk about a little bit about that while I put your email address on there as soon as I can find it.
Great, fantastic. I know that everyone likes to kind of get their information in a different way, so I'd love to give you a free copy of a digital book or a print book. I'm happy to ship it to you. And I'd also like to offer 30-minute marketing consult. So any different type of business that you had, I'd love to do a short audit with you. And all you need to do is send one story or example of what you have done with your business to help survive Corona. And Cindy, I think, is going to add that link as to where to send that to.
I just put it down there. It is, she would like you, I'm going to spell it out. It's info, INFO, at 20, the number 20, lemons with an S.com. And that's below the video on the Facebook page. And I can put that in this comment too, I think. No, that's private. How do I not privately chat? There's comments. Okay. Sometimes technology is my friend, and sometimes there we go. Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated, but I have a love-hate relationship with technology. So, okay. Well, it should be there. Info at 20lemons.com. What you did to make your business survive the pandemic. She's offering a free consult and a copy of her book to the first 5 people. So hopefully they will be taking you up on that. I think it's a fabulous opportunity, especially for anyone who either has a bricks and mortar store, is related to somebody who has a bricks and mortar store, has a favorite bricks and mortar store that they want to survive. You can get it and give it to them. That would be a great thing, because our downtowns, our small little communities, are what gives life some of its character and some of its meaning. So is there anything else as a final piece of advice, Noelle, that you would like to give to our listeners right now before we close?
I really think, the number one thing that I talk to everyone about in marketing is you've got to pick marketing that's authentic to you. Like, I know that we're talking about all this great technology that's coming out. We know that people are getting back out into the world, but you've got to choose things that work for you, because if you don't, you're always going to kick the can as to why you don't want to get started. And so the things that feel more comfortable to you, you'll probably embrace, and that's what's going to like radiate and come out. So try to think about that as you're making some decisions.
And hopefully video will be something that you're comfortable doing. So I will echo or endorse that particular comment. Something that you like, something that you will do, something that you will do consistently, because otherwise, what's the point? All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who's watching, either now live on or on the replay. I'm sure that you have gotten some good ideas here today from Noelle. And I want to thank you very much for sharing, Noelle, with everybody today. Let me remind everyone that we are here every week, every Friday at noon. So next week it will be May 21st. We will be back. If you're interested in being a guest, please send me a direct message, an author with a business book that you're using for your business. And also let other author friends know about us. We are the Business Book Bistro, where you can learn from other authors what's working now to market and sell more books, and discover opportunities that you too can use to make more money with your book. I'm your host, Cindy Carruthers, signing off now and wishing you ever-increasing success in all you do. Thank you, Noelle. Thank you, listeners. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.